an additional 500,000 that would actually be used toward the replacement of those lines as they've been identified. We don't anticipate that this amount will be sufficient to handle all of the need, but it is a beginning, and this is a grant loan package that has been allocated between for both activities, this inventory as well as the replacement, and you will at a future meeting actually have to approve bond closing on this item, but we want to go ahead and get the matter appropriated so that we can start securing a bond counsel and other things that are needed to close out that particular bond.
Will the inventory process itself be handled through an outside agency?
Yes. And in fact, believe we've already secured the engineering services to do that. In anticipation of this appropriation, we've not spent any money, but we've gone through that request for proposal process, which was a prerequisite for the bond closing.
Thank you.
Council have any other questions? If not, I will open the public hearing. And as no one is rushing the podium, I will close the public hearing. Then if you have no other questions, if someone would like to make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-43 as written.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that one, please, ma'am?
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Dawson?
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
All right, now we'll move on to Resolution 2023-43, appointing the Engineering Department Manager as the subdivision agent. Ms. Burchett, if you would explain to them that one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you well know, we have not been successful in procuring a town engineer as a position with the town. Instead, we have a contract with a local engineering firm to serve as the professional engineer on certain activities, but the code of the town does say that the town engineer will serve as the subdivision agent, which they have to sign off on plats whenever a parcel is subdivided. Usually, the matter is handled with the division of a piece of property into two parcels. Further subdivision actually goes through the planning commission process. But since we don't have the town engineer position filled, and we do have the department manager position that has been created in the engineering division, I'm recommending that you designate that position as your subdivision agent. And that is Scott Ost, if you all want to know who that individual is holding that position.
No one has any questions. Would one of you like to make a motion?
I move we adopt Resolution 2023-44 as written.
Second.
May I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Dawson?
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to the public comment period. I have no slips, so move on to the consent agenda. Your consideration of August 15th, 2023 Town Council minutes. Someone would like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve our August 15th, 2023 council meeting minutes as written.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that?
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Dawson?
Abstain.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Abstain.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
Now we move to the council comments. Mr. East?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have anything this evening.
Alrighty. Mr. Clark?
I don't have anything either.
Mr. Dawson?
I was actually gonna asking it may be part of manager's report already, but was just gonna ask for an update on Main Street as far as if there was any new information as far as timeline.
Hasn't changed much from the last time we reported, and you may have seen an article in the newspaper. We actually held a meeting last week for the owners and occupants of the West Main Street to share with them the same information that we shared with the council a few meetings back in terms of our plans for the type of tree, the type of lighting, as well as the timeline. Unfortunately, once the plans have been approved by VDOT, and we're very close now to completing that final review, although we've been at 100% for a while, if they do have to, the plans then have to go to the federal government since there's federal money involved. So we don't anticipate that that would be put into construction until almost the end of the calendar year. Unless we have seasonably good weather, we may have an experience like we did with the water line replacement, but we have gone back and filled in the areas that were of concern to some of the owners and tenants in terms of the walkability of the pavement, where we had to make cuts in order to bring the water lines over for sprinkler systems, and that seems to be well received. And the meeting that we had last Thursday did not have a lot of attendance, but certainly the interest of those who attended, and we didn't really have any questions. I think people are understanding of that. I would mention that because we now have several businesses that have opened that are experiencing lots of good traffic, we've had to ask Pulaski on Main to remind the owners and tenants that they need to keep the parking spaces on the street open to their customers and not use those spaces themselves for parking, which I think they got used to for a while. But with a couple of new businesses, there clearly is a need for those spaces to be available. And of course, we do have the 3rd Street parking lot that's available and easily accessible for those businesses and for those employees as well.
I guess so. It sounds like the meeting with the business owners themselves didn't bring up any different thoughts as far as the lighting or trees or anything of that nature.
Yes, sir. But I also understood, I didn't go to it, but I understand it was not as well attended as meetings that we have had in the past.
Thank you.
Mr. Ratcliffe?
Hold everything. You thought you was gonna get through the year without me getting on the grass. I'm on it right tonight. Hebron Road, they mowed, the guardrails need to be weed eated. Can't even see them out through there. That's one thing. Franklin Avenue and Pico. Right there at the stop sign, at the intersection, the grass is almost to the bottom of the sign. It should have been cut. Weedy, all this is weedy stuff. Trees on Franklin Avenue is hanging over. We got a really bad tree problem here in town to start with. Winfield Circle, all down in there. A couple of months ago, or a meeting ago, I asked you about Winfield Circle and can't think of the other road back there I live on it. But anyway, it makes a big circle that you couldn't see when you pulled out, couldn't see the traffic. Several neighbors got together and just went ahead and clear cutted all that. So you can see. Now, it's a pile of brush there, and I'd just like to see if the town at least picked that up. Or somebody, you know, it's not a dire situation, but it's a big pile that they did clear cut it, so that's taken care of. But Pepper's Ferry Road out on the very end at the red light, seeing traffic coming down through there, and it's a major job. A lot of that just needs to be clear cutted up at bank. They've done it several years ago. It's really hard to see traffic when you're pulling out during all that school traffic, the brush and stuff hangs. But all of Pepper's Ferry Road, I don't know, that may be too much for our people to handle. And if it needs to be, we need to get a tree company in here to get these trees and stuff cut up. And I'll have to spend the money to do it because I think it makes the town look so much better. And it's just everywhere. It's not hard, just put your finger in one spot, but it's just that time of year, the trees are hanging over in these buses and stuff trying to go through, and they're working them over. I don't know the answer, but like I said, if we needed to get a tree company and get in here and just cut this stuff back, get it up, I don't care. It looks so much better when it's gone. but that's just something for the council to take up. Those three areas, if we could get those, brushed up, help a little bit, but none of those all those guardrails need to be cut up, so, and thank you. You'll take care of it, I know.
Mr. Klontz,
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Reese.
So two things. One, as I was driving down here this evening, I would pass by our new pickleball courts, and they were overflowing. There must have been a dozen cars out there, and twice as many people. So it was quite the happening. So it's always good to see stuff like that just like when see the kids playing on the new playgrounds. It's always nice to see people getting out and using some of the stuff that we've put in. Also, as some of you may know, I'm on the regional commission, and just thought I'd report back, just because we were talking about lots of different things. But one of which is that they allocated about $900,000 out of about a $2 million grant that they put into a housing trust fund to help sort of put the Claremont project over the top. And that's 50 units, I think, or 56. I can't remember exactly. There's one in Blacksburg that was similar that needed, with rising construction costs, needed a similar level of boost. So it was very exciting to see, and how, they were very complimentary of the project and, all the stuff that's going on here. Cause it's a need not just in the town, but throughout the New River Valley for new housing. And, I think we've done a lot of good work to make that possible. I think we've spent a lot of time and effort, and not even too much money though, on trying to get this place to be more conducive to building new housing, which we definitely need, not just here in town but throughout. I was trying to think if there was something else from that regional commission meeting. No, but just to know that we're all in similar. There, everybody talks about the same things that we do here. So just a reminder that we're not going it alone. But also, I don't know if everybody saw, but the regional commission sort of spearheading the new passenger rail station that's going to go in Christiansburg, and they got it awarded a couple $100,000 for the engineering of that station. I think it was an ARC grant. I think Miss Burcham and Miss Mayor Collins sit on that board, but that's everybody except for Floyd County in the New River Valley who's on that commission. So that's very exciting, because I think that's going to be a really important and significant change here in the community. To be able to get onto a train and go to DC or New York, and be able to do that pretty quick, close to home. So thank you.
All right. Since we're talking trees and stuff like that, had some people come by and talk to me. One is I'm thinking 505 Jackson Avenue. It's corner of Jackson and Spruce. Trees are covering the street light. So if we can check onto that, if that's our responsibility, or if we can have someone, whoever owns it, take responsibility for it. The other one is the top of Chestnut Street. There's trees that are hanging in the road, and if we can check that. That's what I have today. It's trees, and more trees.
Can I ask a quick question?
No, you had your turn. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, should we be besides, I think it's fine for all of us to come in with comments, but is there somewhere we could direct citizens to if they have questions like that? Should we send them to Public Works for those kinds of issues?
In fact, we are aware of some of these issues, but we are very, very short-staffed. We've had 2 people leave us very unexpectedly out of Public Works, 2 key positions. We have just learned that we've got a mechanic that's not returning, and we've had a mechanic vacancy, so we're 2 down on that, and we're having to send some of our equipment to private sector folks in order to keep some of our equipment running, particularly the police cars that seem to have a lot of wear and tear on them. And we know that we're behind on grass cutting and trees, but we'd love to have people come work for us to help us do that. So I'm writing all these things down, and your guardrail thing, I called myself. I call these things in all the time whenever I'm out on the road, and they're on a list, but we can only do so much, and we will certainly continue to work on them, and I would suggest that anybody who has an issue, call it in to that 994-8651, which is Kim Caldwell, the general superintendent, and she's the one that gets these work orders out to the individuals. In the case of the brush pile that you mentioned, we pick that stuff up, but we don't know it's there unless we happen to be running down that road in a truck. So if anybody has those kind of things laid out, if they'll just call Kim, our trucks will go out and pick up that brush. And different times of the year, you know, we have people who lay that stuff out and just expect us to know that it's there. So if people will call, we'll certainly try to get on those things as quickly as possible. And in response to Mr. Reese's comment, I would just say that both Mr. Sweet and I serve on the Housing Trust Fund Board, and we were successful in the approval meeting to get some additional money beyond the request of the Claremont School so that they could have a little bit of a cushion. So $950,000 was awarded to them, which means that that project is a go. The other project, the one that's in Blacksburg, is a little bit further behind ours, so we anticipate that those housing units will be available within the next year. So we're very pleased that that happened, and of course, all of these projects are experiencing higher cost of doing business because of the cost of materials, the cost of labor, getting labor, and those other things that we're contending with all along. But we're very pleased, and there will be another cycle in 2 years that will also come as an allocation to the town of Pulaski. So we'll be talking about how to make use of future money to increase housing opportunities in the town.
That's all. And I will say, I did forget to mention kudos to the Public Works, or Nate Repass, or both. I saw there's some repairs and improvements were done to the Dora Trail extension. It looked like at some point in time over the last week or so, where some of the stuff that had been washed out and had a little rough terrain on it. A lot of, they've put down some new trail gravel and smoothed out some of those areas. Looks real good.
Do you have more for your, or was
My
that?
turn?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a whole long
Okay.
list tonight.
I didn't know if we went right into it, so I was like, wait. Okay, go ahead.
Well, several meetings ago, I believe it was Mr. Radcliffe, brought up the fact that we need to have some clearing, weeding out of the invasive weeds and plants that are along the Peak Creek. And I'm pleased to say that the Friends of Peak Creek have volunteered to do that cleanup on October the 28th, and they will have the assistance of a couple of groups from Virginia Tech. And the plan is to identify in advance what things should be left and what things can be removed, and so that will allow us in the future to have a better understanding of what should be preserved in those areas in order to make sure that we keep Peak Creek as clean as possible. But we're very pleased that they took on that as a challenge. I was at the Friends of Peak Creek meeting last week, their annual meeting, and Nate Repass, our employee, was named Volunteer of the Year. And we were, of course, very pleased that he received that recognition from them. He has spent quite a bit of time helping them with their various activities. And if you know Nate, he's out there all the time with clippers or something, doing work in order to make sure that our parks look as good as they can be. Several months ago, you all were asked by a local church to approve a special exception for a child care facility, and I had the opportunity last week to visit the Kingdom Kids Preschool and Child Care, and it is a magnificent facility. It will certainly serve a very, very great need that we have, and the people who are there could not be prouder of the work that they've done, and I encouraged Summer, our planner, to go take a look at that, and I would do the same to you all to see the proof of your work. You know, sometimes you are put in a decision-making mode and you don't get the opportunity to see, well, what really happened, and that was a very gratifying experience for me, And I've encouraged Summer to go there, and I would suggest that you all do the same. I think you'll be very pleased with the work that the church put into that, but the fact that they are meeting a very important need in our community. I believe that we've already made the council aware of the fact, but I want to publicly mention that the splash pad that we were hoping was going to be installed in the month of September has now been delayed to November. Again, a supply issue. We've had our request in for some time, but the materials just aren't being delivered. We talked earlier about the traffic on West Main. The pretzel shop, Draper's Bakery, is offering all kinds of different things. I got a snack there with my family on Saturday and then proceeded to visit Mochi's, and I think we tried just about everything on the menu. And then we've got the tea room that is opened, and as I think the council's been made aware, they have been so popular that I made provisions for them to have outdoor dining, and they've gotten the necessary insurance coverage that is needed to use our sidewalk, and they've actually installed some tables out there. And on Thursday and Friday of last week, I did see a couple of couples out actually dining. I'm not sure our 90-degree weather this week is going to necessarily encourage that. But what I had heard from the owner was that 60% of the people that were visiting came from out of town. And we certainly want those out-of-town people to be accommodated wherever possible. Many of them came without reservations, and he had to turn them away. I happened to be there a couple of Saturdays ago myself, and there was a couple from Floyd that had come and said that they had driven 45 minutes to visit the tea room. So we're getting seen. We're getting people to come into our community for the first time, and I think all of us should feel very good and very encouraged about that. You've probably read, because they don't stop talking about it, the county challenging the corporate community to a jet ski race this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The corporate part of that that they're doing fundraising for will be on Friday, and the town has a team. And I hope some of you all will go cheer the town team, which is composed of Dylan Hall, who's with the filter plant, Justin Riggins, who's a crew leader with Public Works, and Zach, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Camacho, who is our firefighter. And they're going to be our team of 3 that will be competing. So we accepted the county challenge, and I'm pleased to say that the construction permit has been approved for Food City, and so they're going to be going gangbusters now that they have satisfied all the various requirements. So look forward to seeing a building come up very quickly at that site, as well as some other projects that we have going on throughout the town.
What is their anticipated open date or their target date?
Spring of '24. I've not heard a specific date yet.
Though they did say at the groundbreaking that their big issue is not the building, but rather the fitting out of freezers and coolers and that kind of stuff. That's been the biggest issue in their supply chain. So the building, just be prepared for somebody to say, why is the building up and nothing?
That's all I have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good news, I hope.
Can I just say one more piece of good news? And I remember what it was from the regional commission meeting, talking about Friends of Peak Creek made me remember it. Kathy Hanks, who's the head of the president, I think, of Friends of Peak Creek, has been was nominated and was awarded a Citizen of the Valley. The regional commission sort of highlights people who've made significant contributions. They're nominated by other members of the community, and she was nominated and voted into that position, that award, I should say, which is part of the regional commission annual dinner. So if you see her, say congratulations.
All right. With that, just a reminder of our future council meeting. It's September 19th, 2023. Closed session at 6 p.m., open session at 7. As there's nothing else on my agenda, I declare this meeting adjourned.